What's up everybody, it's RobinGaming here. So I gotta start off this review of Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain by saying that I kind of lied to you all. I told you that, my internship started, it's a 9 to 5 job, I've barely had time to make videos, but that being said, I realized yesterday that was not really the case at all. I did have time for sure, and the reason why I'm saying this now is because yesterday I finally beat the game. I finally beat Metal Gear Solid 5. I looked at the counter, the sort of like in-game clock that tells you how long you've played the game, and it came out 2 weeks ago on Tuesday. Since then I've been playing it, and it turns out I put 60 hours into the game, and I think that's pretty much the biggest compliment you can give a game, is simply saying how long you've played it, how it managed to really get you, and just keep thinking about it, keep wanting to play it. Whenever I got home, I felt that urge that I wanted to get more into Metal Gear Solid 5 again. I wanted to pick up the controller, and yeah, it all tells it now. Having played the game for 60 hours, man, I enjoyed it so much. And here's the weird part about it. I did not enjoy Metal Gear Solid 5 for the reasons I thought I was going to enjoy it. And the reason why is because you all know most likely that half a year ago or a year ago now, I played all the 4 main Metal Gear Solid games. I finally got into the series having not played any of them before. The reason why, because I definitely, I love those games, I thought they were awesome. But the reason why was the story, and it was because the gameplay kind of felt outdated to me in a way. I never really enjoyed it that much. I was kind of just going through it thinking, yeah, I just want to move on, come on. Every time a cutscene popped up, that's the moment where I got excited, and what I really love the games for is following the overall story arc of Big Boss and of Solid Snake. With this one, the weird thing is that the story out of everything is maybe the most disappointing thing. In a way, it's definitely still a cool story on itself, but there's also definitely some disappointing sides to it. And that's the funny part, is this might as well be my favorite Metal Gear Solid game. I'm not really quite sure about it. I haven't really decided that yet. I think I need some time to really think about it. But the reason why it's so weird is because I didn't enjoy this game for the same reasons as I did the other ones. This one really was about the gameplay. It was about the giant open world, having the freedom to do what you want, and man, that was an awesome feeling. That being said, let's get into this review quickly. I say quickly, but let's not make it quick at all. Let's just talk about literally everything. Because yeah, I always start off with the story, and I realize this is the part where you don't want to get spoiled, because it's still a big part of the series. So all I'm gonna say is, obviously Big Boss wakes up after a coma after 9 years, having been in this sort of like helicopter crash that you saw in Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zero is the prologue leading up to this game, and the story itself tells his tale of revenge. He's trying to get to the people that got him into the coma, and basically trying to build out his own mother base with all of his recruits, and trying to build his own army for his own purposes, obviously. And yeah, the game has this sort of like crazy opening hour that was absolutely fantastic, I thought, where he wakes up in the hospital, amazing opening song, and then stuff starts going wrong, a man on fire starts attacking him, and this floating creature, and whatever the hell, it gets completely crazy. But that first hour was super impressive, and I at that point still thought, yeah, this game is going to blow me away story-wise, and it didn't do that, because in the end, the amount of cutscenes in the game is very little, especially compared to Metal Gear Solid 4, where it felt like you'd been watching cutscenes for 10 hours and playing the game for 2 hours. This time around, I'd been playing the game for like 58 hours and watching cutscenes for 2 hours maybe in total. That's kind of the ratio you can compare it to. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is kind of, once again, strange having played the other ones and being so excited about the story that this one didn't really deliver me that. The game really promises to sort of like end the whole, or just connect the Big Boss and the Solid Snake saga, and it still doesn't quite do that in the way I expected it to do it, and it doesn't do it too well if you'd ask me personally. There are still some cool moments to it. I like the obvious twist at the end. Every single Metal Gear Solid game has a twist, so that's not a spoiler in any way. Some people have been really controversial about it, saying it was totally terrible, but I still quite liked it myself. Actually, I could accept that. The game has its moments, but overall is pretty weak in terms of storytelling. It also makes me say that to anybody asking me, Robin, do I need to have played the other Metal Gear Solid games to enjoy Metal Gear Solid 5? This is super surprising, but it's the first time I'm going to say, no, you don't need to have played all the other games, because more than ever, you know, this story is very self-contained on itself. You can just play it and still understand it. You don't need to have played all the other games to really get what's going on. And that being said, once again, the ratio in terms of like how much gameplay there is compared to story, that's the reason you play it, and that's why it's so awesome. Let's get into that gameplay, of course, because that's once again the biggest part of the game. What's so awesome about it, I don't really even know what it is, but the one keyword that simply explains it is fun, and it's super smooth in a way. Like, this is, I always thought Battlefield 4 was the most next-gen game so far. This one totally, like, gives it a competitor in a way, and the reason why is because the Fox engine they created for this game is so awesome, and everything looks stunning. Gameplay is in 1080p 60 frames per second, and that just adds so much to the smooth gameplay. This is really like a big sort of like argument for everybody defending 60 frames. Metal Gear Solid 5 is a great example because I think it seriously helps the fun factor of the game. And the way it works is you have your sort of like helicopter, aerial, command center, whatever the hell they call it, and you can get dropped into either Afghanistan or Africa, these two open worlds that the game contains. You select a mission, you have your 50 main missions, you have your 150 side ops that you can do, and the helicopter drops you in a very cinematic way, where at that point you're pretty much set free to do whatever you want. You have a sort of like vast selection out of weapons that you can choose, from assault rifles to grenade launchers to sniper rifles, you name it all, plus your tools and equipment like the cardboard box, obviously, as is like very signature Metal Gear Solid item, but also, you know, night vision goggles, that kind of stuff. You have a giant set of tools to work with, and then at the same time you also select a buddy, which can be D-Dog, D-Walker, which is this sort of like mech. You have Quiet, the sniper, which can assist you, and then you also have, let me think, the horse. So you pretty much pick one out of the buddies and you go and explore the landscapes and you do all the stuff. And although it's pretty sort of like generic, you know, it's your typical extract this soldier, kill this guy, search for blueprints, it's still so much fun. And you know, once again, the whole 60 hours that I spent into this game really tells you that the reason I loved it so much is simply that the gameplay was so much fun and I could keep playing it and never really got bored. You can tell by the gameplay that you see here what it's really sort of like about. It has its goofy Metal Gear Solid stuff where, you know, you're extracting the soldiers with your Fulton balloons, which makes it look absolutely weird, but then again it's also really cool. And a big part of it is also actually sort of like, you know, expanding your mother base, which means that you can recruit soldiers by Fulton extracting them, then you can assign them to a certain team like R&D, which will mean that you can develop new weapons and new upgrades for the chopper or for so many different things. And in that way you really work your way to becoming a giant soldier, you know, Big Boss itself, right? And yeah, you're simply building the legend for the character, and that's really what the game is about. And so, you know, like, you can get probably 100+ hours out of the game. We haven't even seen Metal Gear Online yet, which is still gonna come out, I think, in a few weeks from now. I'm simply purely basing it right now in the single player, and there's so much to do there, and it's so much fun as well, that I think it's really a must-have. I think everybody needs to play it. As I said, you don't even need to have really played the other Metal Gear Solid games to understand what's going on here, and you're simply going to enjoy it for the gameplay itself, which is super smooth, fun, and there's a lot of it in the game itself. Are there flaws to the game? Yeah, for sure. Mother base feels kind of still. For example, it's just this one area you visit and you can expand it, but you can't really go in anywhere, and, you know, the only reason you get there is to trigger new cutscenes or something. There's not really too much to do when you can also control everything from your iDroid menu and stuff. That said, yeah, you know, Afghanistan and Africa feel kind of empty. I guess they often feel like wastelands, whereas they do have beautiful environments, these sort of like forests that you sometimes visit, where I'm like, man, I wish everything was like this because it looks absolutely stunning. But yeah, that's sort of like a flaw. The voice acting is sort of like it's good, you know, the voice acting is good itself, but for example, there's only one sound effect for certain things, like, you know, riding on your horse or something like that, and so that means it always comes across a little as, yeah, typical video game. I wish they went a bit more even into the details when they have gone so like deep into the details already. It's just crazy. This game has been worked on for 6 years, and I think Kojima Productions simply deserves the praise for all the work they put into it. They built an entire engine for it. They went to their absolute limits where Konami said, this game needs to be finished now. We can't afford any longer to make the development time of this game even longer than that, because we're simply not going to make a profit on it. And Kojima went to the absolute limit to deliver a game that I think still lives up to most of its promises, you know, especially if you were looking for a good open world game. And I myself, even though I thought I was going to play this for the story, in the end it turns out I played it for the gameplay, and I had so much fun doing so that I recommend this game to anybody out there. Metal Gear Solid 5 is one of the absolute must-haves this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be my game of the year. But with that being said, my score for Metal Gear Solid 5, I'm not going to score the game or rate the game anymore on its overall quality. This is simply my experience, and I think even though I listed some flaws there in the story and some minor other things, in the end I enjoyed it so much, and that 60 hours that I played the game in 2 weeks totally says how much, you know, I like this game. So Metal Gear Solid 5 gets a 9.5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and for now I'd like to thank you a lot for watching. Hope to see you again next time.